Thank you all for coming. I'm not going to take up a lot of your time tonight, mostly because I don't like public speaking. But I just have a few housekeeping things I need to get on. So first of all, thank you all for coming here tonight. Eric and I both needed this night, and without you, this night never would have happened. So we're both very grateful that there was enough interest and enough love in Lindsey Glover from you to have this night. I live daily with a feeling of guilt that I let our friendship drift apart. So I really needed to come and have a meeting like this. Secondly, thank you, Mama. God love you. You opened your doors 2 hours early and you gave us the space to have this event. Please remember that when you're tipping her tonight. Because she has asked nothing of us for doing this. So we need to show our love to her as well. Eric.
Yes.
Thank you for your partnership this last 10 days. I never want to do this with you again.
Never.
Never. But I will forever be grateful for the friendship we've shared over the last 10 years. So as you all can see, there's a couple cameras up here right now. We have Facebook Live going on right now. Cody is our cameraman for Facebook Live. Thank you, Cody, for taking the time to do that. Over here is, I'll be making a separate video for YouTube later on. It's not going to come out tonight, though, because...
What is it streaming on?
Say again?
What is it streaming on? Like what?
It'll be on the event itself. So it's a public event that's out there. Oren's a good friend of mine. He's offered to donate a couple hours of his time to come over here and help me do this video as well. When you come up here to talk, if you come up here to talk, there's an X on the floor. That X is there for a reason, because if you get too close, then the camera's going to leave up your nose. Deal with that. So I'm going to be introducing the pastor here in a few minutes. And before I do, there's a few things. I just want to give you a layout of how this is going to go this evening. She's going to come up here. She's going to say a few words and maybe a prayer. For those of you that are sitting over here, when she's done with that, there's going to be a video on the TV over there, so you don't want to get on here. Just so you know. The video itself, it's just there to remind us of Lindsey and maybe jog your memory of some event that you had with her in the time that you were here. After that, and by the way, Jenny, those papers behind you, those are the letters that I sent you an email, so I printed them out as well.
Okay.
After that, she's going to come up here again, and she's going to be reading from letters from two people that could not make it here tonight but wanted to participate. Tara was one of them, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. The other one was Kelly Cagle, I believe. Is that right, Eric? Where'd you go, Eric?
Yeah.
Is that Kelly Cagle? Is that the other one that sent you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And then it's your turn. Then you get to come up here and tell your story of Lindsey. So Eric and I went through this last Wednesday when we had the pastor come over and we were setting up this event. And Eric's telling his story of Lindsey to the pastor, and I'm listening to him, and I'm getting kind of jealous actually because I didn't have that relationship with Lindsey, right? Well, I mean, Eric and Lindsey were about the same age and looked kind of an old fat bald guy with a Harley. So we didn't have a lot in common with regards to that. But in the middle of Eric telling the story, I realized at some point I had changed my name to Eric, and I was involved in this story, and it was at that moment I got to see Lindsey through his eyes. So when you come up here to talk, you're not up here to talk for yourself. You're up here to talk for everybody else and share that moment, because that's when you really get to understand who Lindsey Glover was. So tonight's event is going to be the pastor that we have coming up is the lead pastor at Hope Church here in Bloomington. Interesting fact, Hope Church and this bar have a unspoken, unwritten, and uncontracted partnership between themselves. The people that come to this bar come here for two reasons: love and acceptance. And it's not like Mama greets them at the door with love and acceptance, right? She just created an environment for them to be loved and accepted when they walk in this door. And they come here throughout the week. And some of them work here. And then on Sunday, most of those people go to Hope Church. And they go to Hope Church for the very same reason. For love and acceptance. Well, tonight's pastor is a pastor of love and acceptance. She's not a pastor of judgment. I believe that's who Lindsey Glover was. So that being said, let me introduce our pastor tonight, the lead pastor from Hope Church, Pastor Jenny Edwards Bertram.
I appreciate that Brad and Eric trusted me this evening, and I hope that we can create a moment, a ritual that allows us to begin to celebrate or continue celebrating Lindsey's life and continue grieving her death and celebrating that there is life after death. I want to say a greeting to anyone who was not able to be here and is connected on Facebook. Technology can be awful and it can be incredible. So if you're connecting this way, we pray that you will also find some kind of comfort and healing in this. Lindsey R. Glover, 33, of Chicago, went to be with her Lord August 30th, 2018 at her home after being challenged with numerous health issues. Lindsey was born August 11th, 1985 in Normal, daughter of Barb and Rob Glover. She was baptized and confirmed at St. John's Lutheran Church in Bloomington. Lindsey attended Unit 5 schools, graduating from Normal West High School in 2004, then Illinois State in 2008. While at ISU, she completed internships at Advocate Broman Community Wellness and Women's Center and the Health Promotions Office, in addition to working at the Redbird Card Office. Her work experiences include Macy's in Bloomington, Chesterfield, Missouri, and in Chicago. She was a free spirit who lived her dream of living in downtown Chicago and was a business manager at Bloomingdale's at the time of her death. Known for her brilliant smile, fun spirit, determination, and kind heart, she made many friends along the way. Her creative, artistic touch and flair for style were evident in those she dealt with and in her surroundings. She loved to laugh, and she found much joy by adopting her cat, Chloe. Lindsey is survived by her parents and Tim, her brother. She was preceded in death by grandparents Ruth Glover, Del Glover, and Malcolm and Agnes Lindahl. She leaves behind many. Her family had a small private service, and in absolute respect to them, we gather as friends to celebrate Lindsey, and we pray that this is also a celebration that helps her family know how loved she was and is. As we gather to celebrate the life of Lindsey Glover, and my 6-year-old heard me say celebration of life, and he said, "Mom, why would you say celebration when there are so many people so sad?" And I said, "Sweetheart, it's because we want to celebrate all of the goodness of her entire life." And he said, "Okay, I get it." And then talk about Power Rangers. As we celebrate her life, we come together in grief, and we want to acknowledge our very human loss. We gather in love, aware of the love that surrounds us in the midst of grief and sadness, and that's certainly been felt in this space tonight. We come here today, perhaps, to feel the presence of the divine in each other, to laugh, to wipe away tears, to have a drink, to be reminded that in the midst of grief, we're not alone. Holy is a creator who never lets death have the final word. And so we also come to bear witness to resurrection hope and a belief in the transformative power of love. We come here today to begin or to continue to release our grief, to allow ourselves to be transformed and to begin to find joy in the midst of our day. So may we be granted grace that in pain we may find comfort, in sorrow hope, and in death resurrection. If you would like, I invite you to join in prayer, though nobody is required to do that. O Spirit, who gave us birth, you are ever more ready to hear than we are to pray. You know our needs before we ask. And so we grant us now your grace, that as we shrink before the mystery of death, we may see the light of your life. Speak to us once more your solemn message of life, and help us live as those who understand and want to live into the love that you offer. We praise you for the company of all of those who have finished their course in faith and now rest from their labor. And we give thanks to those dear to us who we name in our hearts before you now. All that is loving, especially tonight, we thank you for Lindsey, whom you have graciously received into your presence. To all these grant your peace and let perpetual light shine upon them. God, bring us into your love, your light, your presence, your grace. Amen. I share really ancient words of wisdom. Yes, they are canonized in what are the Hebrew scriptures, also known as an Old Testament, but they were written by a man whose entire purpose in life was to try to figure it out, to try to get answers, and he became an old man, and he didn't have any answers, and he wrote this poem. For everything there's a season and a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep, a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love, a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. Basically, he didn't understand why or the rhythm of when these times came and went. But in a few moments, you're going to get the opportunity to do something that no one wants to do, and that's to share a few words in memory about Lindsey. Not that you don't want to share those words, but you'd rather share them with her. You'd rather call her, text her, put a note on her Facebook, run it into her mom and just tell her how much you miss Lindsey. That's what you'd rather be doing, and instead we're sharing with each other our memories and how much Lindsey meant. The first thing I'd like to say, and I haven't shared this with Brad and Eric yet, but I realized after I met with the two of you that I had had Lindsey in my prayers years earlier. Friends of hers didn't share her name first or last, but when she moved to St. Louis just said, hey, I have a friend I'd like you to pray for. And it wasn't until you shared with me some of the struggles that she experienced in that setting that I realized that I had specifically been praying for her years ago. So I already know how loved she is because people had already told me about her. And in the past week, every person I've asked who I knew was connected to the bistro somehow, if they knew Lindsey, like their eyes just light up. And they talk about the kindness. Another thing that I've heard, not that she was naive, but she had a beautiful innocence about her, just that kind of no matter what was happening, there was a sense of this is about love, and this is about beauty, and fun, and laughter, and being stressed out, and then fun and laughter. And for me, the photos that I've seen of her show beautiful eyes and this amazing smile, and you've all assured me that that's what I would have seen in real life too, that isn't filtered photos, but that is her beauty. Second, I want to acknowledge that as kind of the religious representative here, which I love that there's a religious representative in a gay bar, so thank you for welcoming me in here. It would be easy to, when Mom is embracing everyone at the front door, you could tell me to stay away. So thank you for embracing me here. But I don't believe in a judgmental deity or a puppet master God. That just doesn't make sense to me. For me, God is love. So if you don't use the word God, but you use the word love, that's just it. That's just it. Where there's love, there's God. Period. Where there's love, there's God. And I believe that love, or if you use the word God, is ever present. God was with Lindsey and God is with us here. Love was with Lindsey and love is with us here. So our purpose for gathering is acknowledging the love we had for Lindsey and the whole it now leads for us. The other thing I love about the bistro is this is a place where you can be absolutely authentic, right? No one has to pretend to be someone they're not, and all of us are humans. So there's this thing that sometimes happens at funerals where people pretend the person who has died wasn't a human being, and all of a sudden that their entire life they were a perfect saint who did everything perfectly. We're in the bistro, and on Facebook, but we're in the bistro, so authenticity is the thing. We don't have to pretend that Lindsey was perfect, though we're going to celebrate her amazing characteristics, nor do we have to pretend that our human relationships are or were perfect. We can be authentic with that. Authentically, when someone lives in a town and you get to see them every day, you're very close. And when a person moves away, it's harder to remain close. That is not something that we need to feel guilty about, okay? That's authentic, normal human relationships. So if you were someone who talked to Lindsey almost every day when you were both in Bloomington, and you did not get to talk as much when you lived hundreds or more miles away, that's normal, authentic. That's okay. That is what we expect. And if Lindsey were sitting right here and anybody said, like Brad did, gosh, I just feel so guilty that we haven't been as close as we were when we lived in the same town, what would she say? Is she going to say, that's right, you blank, we're on Facebook, that's right, you? I don't think so, based on hearing you. I feel like she'd say, well, we're good. You guys would know the way she would word that, but my sense is she wasn't someone who held grudges or a lack of forgiveness. I think she would understand that distances happen. So as we celebrate, we get to celebrate the ways that our lives intersected with Lindsey's when they did. And remember that. And even when a best friend moves away, we can think someday maybe we'll get to be together again. And part of what we grieve is the knowledge that will never happen again with Lindsey. And so, but we grieve that. As Brad said, he has put together a video of Lindsey, and we're going to use this as a chance to kind of remember who she was, and maybe it'll stir some memories for you. And then there's going to be room for as many people who want to share a story of Lindsey. I will start because I have a couple of people who shared their stories in a written form, so it'll kind of jog your memory, and then I'll stand right here next to you if anyone would like to step up here and share as well.
So it just like you said it would be. Life goes easy on me. Most And so it is. Shorter story. Can't take my eyes off you. I can't take my eyes off of you. 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 Can't take my eyes. Can't take my eyes. Can't take my Can't take my mind. Can't take my mind.
Thank you for putting that together. I love seeing the many stages of Eric's hair. Our first testimony or sharing about Lindsey comes from Tara Lang McDowell. And Tara, if you're listening tonight, thank you for having the courage to share this. Dear Lindsey, the last message you sent me was one to my husband telling him I was a dear friend of yours. I can't help but think how special I felt when I read that. The feeling has always been mutual, but now life is a little dimmer knowing you're gone. We met while working at Macy's Estee Lauder, which, by the way, how many people in here are from Macy's? Yeah, there's a lot of good makeup in here. Only seeing each other during training or manager meetings. I remember your quiet confidence and your amazing hair. I always told you I wished I had your hair. It wasn't until we both moved on from Macy's that our friendship grew. You were in Chicago. I loved Chicago and never missed a moment telling you so. I was somehow blessed with opportunities to travel there, which meant I could visit you from time to time. We took time to catch up on life, revisit our past with Estee Lauder, and laugh about experiences we both had. I realized during those times how talented, kind, and smart you were. I envied your life in Chicago and somehow wished I was your neighbor. Together we would rule the Windy City. You would send notes about George Lucas living upstairs from Bloomy's, and I would joke and say, be sure to say hello to Georgie for me. Or when the guy from Vanderpump Rules came down and chatted with you, I had no clue who he was or what that TV show he was from, but man, did it sound cool. I was so excited for you. I'm proud of you for finding your way in a big city. You taught me how to hail a cab. I was so nervous. Visions of myself flailing arms about the streets of Chicago, looking like a complete idiot. I think you laughed at me as I explained my phobia. You cheered me on and had faith I could do it. I texted you as soon as I shut the door of the first cab, excited and empowered. It was all because of you, my dear friend. Every time I hail a cab now, I will whisper, thank you, Lindsey. I remember when you sent me the picture of that cross-eyed cat you'd seen at the Humane Society for Adoption. I could not help but laugh at that poor cat looking for you or at you. I could never tell for sure. He looked so sweet, and I totally wanted you to adopt him. You let me know Chloe was the queen and could not have another until you had a bigger apartment. I still keep a picture of that cat, and it makes me think of your sweetheart and laugh. Oh my gosh, that cat, Lindsey. If you want to see a picture of the cat, she sent it as well. It's crazy. The hardest part is none of us are ready to let you go. So many questions and circumstances feeling unfair. Seeing as though I can't argue with God, I believe you are safely beside God now, shining so bright and beautiful. I know you have all the answers to our questions, and if you could, tell us you would. That's the kind of person you were. Lindsey, until we meet again, I'll do my best to share your legacy. And when I come to Chicago, I'll keep an eye out for Georgie. I'll be sure to tell him you say hi. I love you, dear friend. And Kelly Ann Cagle wrote this. Lindsey was a quiet yet fun and always smiling young girl. Lindsey and Tim played with my kids because my parents lived next door to the Glovers for decades. Lindsey was sweet, enjoyable, and happy young lady. There's a consistency of her personality throughout her life. I enjoyed watching her grow up and take on the world. Sometimes it was harsh, but Lindsey always bounced back and could always depend on her family and friends. Lindsey was a fighter, but now she is no more in pain. Lindsey is living and knowing all God's grace and mercy. Lindsey's leaving a huge hole in the hearts of her mom, dad, and brother. My prayer is God comforts her and them and her friends. The world has lost a beautiful soul. Fly high, Miss Lindsey. Are there others who would like to come up here and share?
I'm Amanda. Lindsey and I were friends. We met on the swim team 24 years ago. We were the Normal Park Swimming Sharks. And when I first met her, there was Lindsey with an E, which was her, and then Lindsey with an A. So we were all like a little clique. It was awesome. I was like, oh, that's so awesome. She was just fabulous. So we went to different high schools, and we still kept in touch and stuff, and we were good friends. And then she and I decided we were going to move to Chicago. I was going to be a photographer, and she was going to work in fashion, and she got to do that, and I am now a mother of 3 with clean teeth. Who won there? But I have so many funny stories, so many good memories. I'll tell you one that will, not make us sound so perfect. Since our mom is here. One time she was driving. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a Lincoln Town Car, but it's like humongous. And if you've ever seen Lindsey in person, she's tiny. So when you put those 2 things together, it's like bumper boats. So she was my height.
Okay.
We were the same height. Well, I have heels on, but 5'2", this is my height. So she was about the same height as me, but her feet were like size 6, and mine were size 8. So I would call her Littlefoot because she wore a size 6, and I was Bigfoot because I wore like an 8.5. So we would just tease each other, and it was just fun all the time. But one time we were pulling into Eastland Mall, and we found a spot that was pretty close. So she was driving, and she's over there cranking her big old town car, trying to get in the spot. And I was like, I think we're good. And then clink, we hit the little car in front of us, and we're like, do we leave them a note? It wasn't that, I swear. Or do we move? And so we decided to move. And then we still went in the mall like it was no big deal. We were like, they don't have cameras, we're good. And to this day, we still haven't been caught.
You are.
Now they know. Then after high school, we still, were best friends. And she went to college at ISU, and I went to Hartland. And then she worked with my mom at the ID card office at ISU, but I couldn't work up there, so I worked downstairs in the basement at the Brewster's Lounge, the coffee shop. So I would come upstairs and talk to her, and vice versa. Went to some fun parties together. Took a lot of pictures, and if you look at our pictures, we were just always laughing and having fun. And then when I had Trevor, she was at the hospital with my friend Mary and my mom and some of my other really close friends, and they waited like hours. The doctor came out and he's like, this is not a show. And I was like, they're here, they're staying. So they were all waiting out there for Trevor, my oldest son, and he's now 14, so it was 14 years ago. And she was the first one to hold him, apparently. I did not know that. My mom just told me that. And that's awesome because my mom said she was a little nervous. So Lindsey was like, and my mom's like, please don't drop it, please don't drop it. Good stories, lots of, and then fast forward to the last time I saw her in person was about 3.5 years ago. I was in Chicago for a dental meeting, and I was like, hey, meet me at the Cheesecake Factory. We need to have a drink. And she's like, no, we're not going to the Cheesecake Factory. So she was like, come to my side of the town. And so I met her. I rode the bus. I was so scared. But I met her, and I went up to her building, and I was like, you pay how much a month for this? I was like, that's the same price I pay for my house. A little bit big house. And so, she kind of showed me around, and we went to this cute little martini bar and sat down and had a drink and just had fun. So I told her, I said, every time I see you with your cat, you act like she's queen. And I was like, so I'm going to start calling you Fancy. So that song that came out, I'm So Fancy, I texted her and I said, that song is about you. So now every time I hear the song, I think of Lindsey. So I was at the Taylor Swift concert last weekend, and the first opener, her song, Fancy. And, that was kind of hit home. It was good. But long story short, I'm so glad that she had so many people that cared about her, and thank you guys all for coming. I know she would have really appreciated this, and I know she's going to want us to all keep in touch with each other and keep each other close. So, again, thank you. Thank you for everything. She was very, very special.
First, I think it's extremely appropriate that we are here at the bistro, at least from my perspective, because this was the place where our friendship really started. We worked together for a few months, and we got to know each other. We bitched about crappy customers. But then for my 21st birthday, Lindsey insisted that she would bring me here. And there are a lot of stories of poor decisions and bad breakups. And I'm not going to go into them because I'm pretty sure I've told most of them to most of you. So I want to tell a story that I never told Lindsey. She met me at a very interesting time in my life. I was new to cosmetics, and prior to cosmetics, I worked in apartment maintenance. Very different world. A paintbrush is not the same as a bronze brush. And the application is very different. And prior to working at Macy's with Lindsey, I had just come out to myself and to a few close friends, and I was learning what that meant in my life. Lindsey was so loving. After our initial night here, we just clicked. We were close after that, and we would talk about everything, including, Lindsey, I don't know who I am anymore. I'm from a town of 400. I'm a football player. I'm a maintenance guy, and I'm putting makeup on people. How do I figure that out? And so she said, well, why don't you help me change my brakes?
In their Camry?
In the Camry.
Yes.
And so I did. I went to her house. We worked on the car. And Lindsey was in the garage with me the whole time, just talking. And afterwards, I'm crunched up. I'm covered in grease. And she's like, let's go to dinner. So she took me out to Biaggi's. I'm dressed as a mechanic. I've got nail polish on one hand from work. I've got lip stain on this wrist from work. I've got brake grease under my fingernails. I'm a walking conundrum. And it was bothering me. I wasn't at that point yet able to reconcile who I had been and who I was learning to be. And over dinner, Lindsey just put her hand on mine and told me that she loved me because I was a conundrum. She loved that I could be both. And she really gave me the courage to actually be myself. Not some butch lie of a maintenance worker. Not the over-exaggerated lie of a guy who works in cosmetics, but a balance. I'm who I am because Lindsey helped me figure it out. I'll never forget that. Yeah, that's that.
recall that.
Anybody bring waterproof vests?
Even if you have just a funny story or a way that Lindsay made you feel, you're welcome to share this.
All right, I don't have a lot. I met Lindsay through my wife because, as most of you know, she worked at Macy's. And about the time my wife was going through her second back operation, I decided it'd be a good idea to buy a Harley. Not realizing that my wife's never going to ride on the back of it. So Lindsay was there to volunteer to go with me around town and around the state of Illinois. There's an intersection down here. I think it's Emerson and Empire. You got a frontage road that runs along Empire, and there's like room for like 2 cars to wait for the stoplight to get on the Empire. Otherwise, you're blocking the intersection in front of the road, right? So you have to stop coming on Emerson. You have to stop, and then you have to go through the light, assuming it's green. So I come to a stop. Lindsay's on the back of the bike. Right out of time I come to a stop, the light turns yellow. Oh, got it. Right? So I yell at her, hang on. And I gun it, and it's a Harley, so it had a nice sound to it. And we went bouncing through the intersection. We get to the other side, and she goes, woo-hoo! Let's do that again. I'm like, all right, I know you're going to be right with me for a while. I only have one other story I can share. It was, I think it was in between St. Louis and Chicago that she'd come back home in 2015. I know that because it was a week after I bought my 2013 Hyundai Azera. So it was a brand new car. We came down here to celebrate her coming back. She was back for a couple of weeks. And she was a little over-celebrating, well, and not eating. So apparently she was, yeah. I had to pour her into the car at the end of the night. So driving her home now, and I've had some celebration myself, although I had to cut it short because I knew that she was going to ride me home. So. And we get her back down to Jimmy John's. I'm taking her back to Gregory, where her parents live. We get her back down to Jimmy John's on Main Street, and I hear her say something. I go, what? And the next thing you know, whoa! Car was a week old. You can still kind of smell Lindsay. That's all I have.
Hi, I'm Jana. I met Lindsay 10 years ago, I think. I worked with her at Macy's. Lindsay was actually my first work friend. I started in the juniors department, and she was my trainer. She was the senior sales associate there. And when I started at Macy's, it was more just, it was a temporary holiday job. Just needed some extra hours to get me through the winter, Christmas presents. Everyone's birthdays in January in my family, it seems like. So I instantly warmed up to her. And anyone that knows me, which is my crowd over here, I'm not really a people person. I don't really warm up to people, so why I work with retail, I don't know. But Lindsay was just my girl. We just clicked right away. And then I would say probably 3 weeks after I started, she went over to cosmetics. And so I'm like, well, I'm never going to talk to this girl again. Cosmetic girls are bitches. They guys are bitches. They're stuck up. I'm like, I really like this girl. And every day, Lindsay would just come over and she would ask me, hey, how are things going over here? Are you understanding, where we're supposed to put everything? And then slowly, I just started talking to more of the cosmetic girls, fragrance girls. And then the shoe department was over next to cosmetics. And so then I became friends with all of them. And then Lindsay she really liked to put makeup on me, which is awesome. But she's like, you have red hair, light skin, I'm really going to learn my makeup. And she's actually the one that got me into loving makeup. I didn't grow up wearing makeup. Makeup was really never one of my things. And like once she taught me, I was like, oh my God, I have to wear makeup every day. I don't anymore. But she's the one that got me to love cosmetics. Lindsay and I have a lot of funny stories. I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm not going to tell you all of them, but I call her my bad kitty, and that has to do with periods and vaginas and all kinds of stuff. And, you know, it's just, she would just text me sometimes and be like, bad kitty, how's my bad kitty? You know, always make me giggle. I got to know Lindsay more on an outside of work perspective. When you guys got your puppy, I don't remember her name, I don't remember, but she got the puppy when she was still living down here. I love animals, and she said, will you take me to the dog park? I'm like, sure. So here's cute little Lindsay, you know, hair perfect, makeup perfect, cute little outfit and everything else. And she's got this puppy on a leash. She still isn't leash trained. And you know, it's peeing here and pooping here and peeing here. She goes, do I have to clean this up? I was like, yes, Lindsay, you have to clean it up. So I go out there and she's like, you know, cranking her cute little nose. And I'm like, you know, if you're going to have a puppy, you know, you got to know how to do this. So we went to the dog park probably for the first couple of months of the dog's life. We really got to know each other on an outside of work level. When she told me that she was going to be moving down to Missouri, the situation that was going on, you know, I was like, girl, I'm going to wish you the best, you know, like you're going to totally rock it out down there. Just, you know, let me know if you need anything. We stayed in touch all throughout her Missouri, and then she texted me and she's like, you know, I'm going back for a bit, but then I'm going to go to Chicago. And I'm like, no way, like, here's our cute little, you know, Bloomington normal girl. You're like, we all get excited when someone gets to go to somewhere bigger than Bloomington. And she was so excited about Chicago. And then, like Brad said, kind of drifted apart in a way, but I was still able to reach out to her. You know, she would just send me messages, and, you know, she would just want to check up on me. She always knew that Lindsay was the person who, she always knew when something was going on. And it didn't matter what was going on in her life, she always put me first. So we just stayed in contact all throughout Chicago. And kind of like you, I remember her meeting some famous people. Like, they were at a lounge down the street. She casually strolled by, but knowing Lindsay, she was probably like, you know, or something like that. But, you know, we would talk about that. And it's just, you know, I see her from Macy's, and I mean, I remember meeting Eric, and I think we were in the men's department for a couple months or something. And, okay, because I remember going up to Lindsay and be like, he's gay. And she was like, well, I think so, because he keeps coming over here and looking at me. I'm like, okay. And then, like, there was a customer who was really mean to Eric because he was wearing makeup and stuff, and then, like, Lindsay stuck up, you know, for him, and then they wanted to see a manager, and I was a manager, and so then, you know, like, Lindsay always just, she never put herself first, which is what I think a lot of us remember her as. She always made sure that everyone else was okay. She was a free spirit. Lord, that girl's a free spirit. Confident, such a confident person. And she would love you even after you have an argument. I mean, her and I, we argue about Trump all the time. So many times, like, we'd be sitting there on Facebook just arguing about Trump, and then she'd send me a message, be like, I love you. You know, I mean, just such a strong-willed woman. When I found out that she had passed away, my boyfriend actually was sleeping, and then, you know, I caught word of it. And I woke him up, and, you know, I told him, you know, that I had just found out, and, you know, I was like, it's Lindsay, you know, like, I think that's kind of how all of us felt, like, it's Lindsay. Like Lindsay's invincible. So, I mean, it was a huge shock to all of us, but I think that all of us, for the most part here, know her or know each other through her. She never met a stranger. She always welcomed everybody. You know, like I said, I would have talked to any of them if it wasn't for Lindsay. I probably never would have come to the bistro if it wasn't for Eric and Lindsay inviting us down there, and Brad. I played bingo with him down here before. So I mean, Heaven's got a hell of a person on their side up there. I mean, she's going to definitely show them what she's made of. But that's definitely how I remember Lindsey. Is just she's such a free spirit and such a strong person. And I think that is how she would want all of us to remember her. She wouldn't want us to be upset at all. She wouldn't. Like, she would do anything in her power to make us laugh. So that's definitely what I'm going to remember about Lindsey, is just how free-spirited and strong and confident she was.
Yeah. There's certainly time to share stories with each other. It does not have to be from here. Eric shared that, and shyly, Lindsey shared that in this past year that she reconnected with God. Of course, you know, God lovers can be kind of judgy people, and so it was kind of even shy to say that, because I said, do you want anything, any prayer or anything religious? And I understand that would be authentic to who Lindsey was. And so we offer this prayer. God of us all, your love never ends. When all else fails, you still are God. We pray to you for one another in our need, and for all anywhere who mourn with us this day. To those who experience trouble and doubt and darkness, we pray for light. For those who are weak, we pray for strength. And to all who sorrow, peace. Loving and divine Creator, all that you have given us is yours. At first you gave Lindsey to us, and now we give Lindsey back to you. Receive Lindsey into the arms of your mercy. Raise her up with all of your people, and receive us also. Raise us into new life. Help us so to love and serve in this world that we enter into joy in the world to come. Amen. We go forth or continue. We finish this part of the night with these words of Scripture. As for me, the time of my departure has come. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. For the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised imperishable, and we will be changed. For this perishable body must put on imperishability, and this mortal body must put on immortality. When the perishable body puts on immortality, and this mortal body puts on immortality, then the saying that is written will be fulfilled. Death has been swallowed up in victory. Where, O death, is your victory? Where, O death, is your sting?